In today's world, noise is everywhere. Buzzing phones, constant opinions, and endless demands pulling us in every direction. But the greatest strength you can develop isn't found in louder voices or faster moves. It's found in silence. The Buddha taught that silence is not emptiness. It is the doorway to awakening, the ground where clarity is born. Think about it. What would your life feel like if your mind was no longer restless? If your energy wasn't drained by distractions? If your heart finally rested in peace? That kind of life begins the moment you choose to turn inward. In this video, we'll explore 7 timeless lessons that reveal how to protect your energy, sharpen your focus, and find calm even in a chaotic world. These lessons aren't just ideas, they are practical ways to reconnect with the stillness that already lives inside you. So take a deep breath and let's begin this journey into silence, strength, and self-mastery. 1. Silence is not empty, it is full. Most people think of silence as a gap to be filled, awkward pauses in conversation, background noise missing from a room, or a space that feels heavy and uncomfortable. But in Buddhist wisdom, silence is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of awareness. It is the fertile ground where self-discovery and transformation take root. When you begin to see silence not as a void, but as a sanctuary, something remarkable happens. It becomes a refuge where clarity rises, where thoughts untangle, and where wisdom naturally unfolds. In these quiet spaces, you don't lose yourself. You finally meet yourself. Instead of fearing silence, imagine embracing it like an old friend. Within it, you develop patience, compassion, and the rare ability to observe life without rushing to judge or react. This is where true strength is forged, not in noise but in stillness. If you want to invite this kind of silence into your life, start small. Pause before you check your phone in the morning. Walk without headphones and let the world breathe around you. Or simply sit for a few minutes and notice the rhythm of your breath. These gentle practices turn silence from something you avoid into something you treasure. And slowly, what once felt empty will become the most nourishing space you know. 2. Turning loneliness into nourishing solitude. Loneliness and solitude may look the same on the surface, but they are worlds apart in spirit. Loneliness is heavy. It whispers of absence, of something missing, of a hunger for connection that feels unfulfilled. Solitude, on the other hand, is light. It is a conscious choice, a gentle turning inward where you discover that your own presence is enough. In Buddhist practice, solitude is seen as essential to awakening. It is not about shutting the world out, but about clearing the space within so you can finally hear your own heart. In these quiet moments, you uncover who you truly are, your strengths, your weaknesses, and the parts of yourself that long to be embraced with compassion. When you begin to treat solitude as a gift rather than a punishment, something shifts. You no longer depend on the noise of others to feel complete. You learn to sit in your own company and feel at peace. This is where self-love takes root, where confidence grows, and where inner freedom begins. Try it gently. Read words that inspire you, walk in nature and listen to the earth breathing, or sit in meditation and let silence reveal its wisdom. In time, you will see that loneliness was never your enemy. It was simply an invitation to meet yourself more deeply. And when solitude blossoms, you discover that true contentment is not found outside, but already alive within you. 3. Let silence become your strength. Many people mistake silence for weakness, but in truth, silence can be one of the sharpest tools you carry. In Buddhist wisdom, silence is not passive. It is alive, filled with patience, clarity, and restraint. To know when to speak and when to remain silent is to hold true mastery over your energy and influence. Think about the times when anger or criticism pulls at you, demanding a reaction. Words spoken in haste often create wounds that linger, but silence can disarm conflict before it begins. It is not avoidance, it is a demonstration of inner confidence, showing that you no longer need to prove yourself in every battle. Silence also refines the art of listening. By pausing, observing, and holding back your own urge to respond, you begin to notice things others often miss. The tone beneath their words, the emotions behind their eyes, the truth they may not even realize they are sharing. This level of awareness brings wisdom into your relationships and depth into your understanding of others. To practice this, try pausing before you reply in tense conversations. Let a few breaths pass. Ask yourself, is my response necessary, or is silence enough? In many cases, you'll find that silence carries more weight than words ever could. In that quiet choice, you shift from being reactive to being truly powerful. 4. Break free from the addiction to validation. One of the greatest chains that bind the human heart is the need for approval. From childhood, we are taught to look outward, to seek gold stars in school, praise from parents, or likes on social media. Without realizing it, many of us grow into adults who measure our worth by how others see us. But here is the hard truth. When your happiness depends on someone else's validation, you have surrendered your power. Buddhism teaches us that true self-worth is not borrowed, it is discovered. Your value does not rise and fall with the opinions of others. It exists naturally, like the sun shining behind the clouds. When you chase validation, you build your identity on unstable ground. Compliments may lift you for a moment, but criticism will crush you just as easily. This endless cycle breeds insecurity because external validation is like drinking salt water. It feels satisfying at first, but it only leaves you thirstier. Think about how often people scroll through their phones, refreshing for likes and comments, or how some sacrifice their authenticity just to be accepted by a group, a partner, or a boss. This is the hunger for validation, and it never ends. But the moment you turn inward, the cycle begins to break. Instead of asking, do they approve of me? You begin asking, am I aligned with my truth? Instead of performing for others, you begin living for yourself. This is where confidence is born. Not the shallow confidence built on applause, but the quiet confidence that comes from knowing your worth is unshakable. To practice this, set goals that reflect your own values, not society's expectations. If you write because your soul has something to say, not because you need an audience to cheer. If you exercise, do it because it makes you strong and healthy, not because it shapes your body into someone else's idea of beauty. Celebrate your victories privately. Let your joy be enough without needing a witness. Remember, when you stop giving people the power to define you, you reclaim your freedom. The Buddha said, "No one saves us but ourselves. No one can, and no one may. We ourselves must walk the path." In the same way, no one else can give you lasting worth. It is already within you, waiting to be recognized. The day you let go of the need for validation is the day you step into true independence. Your sense of self no longer sways with opinions, and your happiness no longer belongs to the crowd. It belongs to you, and that is the deepest freedom of all. 5. Master the art of strategic withdrawal. In today's world, people are taught to always push forward, to hustle endlessly, to fight through every obstacle, no matter the cost. Pausing or stepping back is often mistaken for weakness or failure. But in Buddhism, there is a deeper wisdom. Sometimes the most effective way to move forward is to retreat with clarity. Strategic withdrawal is not an act of giving up. It is an act of self-respect. It is the recognition that certain situations, relationships, or habits are no longer aligned with your well-being, and the courage to step away. True withdrawal does not escape. It is preservation. It is the moment you reclaim your energy instead of wasting it on battles that drain your spirit. It is the strength to say, "I will not stay where my peace is constantly disturbed." Just as an archer must draw the bow backward before the arrow can fly, stepping back in life can create the power and direction you need to move ahead with precision. Think for a moment about how many people remain in environments that suffocate them. They stay in relationships where love has turned to resentment, in jobs where their talents are overlooked, or in social circles that thrive on gossip and negativity. They cling because walking away feels frightening. Yet the Buddha taught that clinging to what causes suffering only deepens suffering. When you choose to withdraw, you are not failing. You are choosing freedom. You are choosing to protect your peace rather than sacrifice it. Withdrawal also gives you space to hear yourself again. Life can feel like a crowded marketplace with voices pulling you in every direction. When you step back, it is as if you walk out of that noisy crowd and into a quiet temple. In that silence, your own voice becomes clear. You remember who you are and what you truly value. Without the constant pressure of others' demands, you can finally decide where your life is meant to go. Still, many people fear judgment. They worry others will whisper, "She gave up," or "He couldn't handle it." But the need to constantly explain yourself is another chain of attachment. What others think is their story, not yours. Stepping back is not selfish, it is wise. It allows you to rest, to heal, and to return with a strength that no one else could have given you. When you care for yourself first, you are later able to give more authentically to others. Strategic withdrawal is not isolation, nor is it running away. It is setting healthy boundaries. It is refusing to pour your energy into arguments that only breed bitterness. It is declining invitations that feel like obligations. It is walking away from conversations that drain rather than uplift. Just as a gardener must remove weeds so that flowers can thrive, you must sometimes remove yourself from the environments that choke your spirit. Monks throughout history have practiced withdrawal by retreating into forests or mountains. They are not abandoning life, but going deeper into it, stripping away the noise so they can hear truth more clearly. Your withdrawal may not be into the forest, but it can be into the quiet corners of your own life, choosing solitude over chaos, stillness over constant motion, peace over the endless noise. Practical withdrawal can be simple. Step away from social media for a few days and notice how your mind calms. Limit time with those who drain you and watch how your energy returns. Say no without guilt when something doesn't align with your values. Spend more time in nature or let meditation and journaling become your sanctuary. Each choice becomes a declaration that your peace matters more than approval, more than pressure, more than appearances. When you master the art of strategic withdrawal, you discover that stepping back is not falling behind. It is moving forward with greater clarity. It is saying, "I will not scatter my energy on what diminishes me. I will reserve it for what strengthens me." In this way, withdrawal becomes an act of wisdom, of courage, and of love for yourself. And in that space, you create new growth, new insight, and new possibilities begin to bloom. 6. Strengthen your inner fortress through mindful detachment. One of the greatest sources of suffering in life is attachment. We cling to people, to outcomes, to identities, and to expectations as if they are permanent. But the Buddha taught that everything is impermanent. Clinging to what must eventually change is like holding tightly to sand. It slips through your fingers no matter how strong your grip. The practice of mindful detachment is not about abandoning love or responsibility. It is about building an inner fortress so strong that no storm can shake your peace. Think about how often we tie our happiness to things outside ourselves. We say, "If they love me, then I'm enough. If I get this promotion, then I'll be worthy. If life goes my way, then I'll be happy." But what happens when the relationship ends, when the job is lost, when life unfolds differently? Without detachment, we crumble because we have placed the keys to our happiness in someone else's hands. Mindful detachment means learning to hold life gently instead of desperately. Imagine standing by a river. You can thrust your hands into the water and try to hold it, but the harder you grasp, the more it escapes. Or you can simply let the water flow, watching its beauty without needing to capture it. This is detachment. It is the art of allowing life to move while you remain steady. This doesn't mean becoming cold or distant. Detachment is not indifference, it is the highest form of love. When you love someone without attachment, you don't try to possess them or mold them into who you want them to be. You give them the freedom to be themselves, and you give yourself the freedom to remain whole, whether they stay or go. That kind of love is fearless, because it doesn't depend on control. It depends on presence. In daily life, detachment shows up in many ways. It is the calm you feel when someone criticizes you, and you don't let their words pierce your soul. It is the clarity you find when plans collapse, but you remind yourself that impermanence is part of the path. It is the strength you hold when relationships change, and instead of clinging, you let go with compassion. Each of these moments builds your inner fortress brick by brick, until your peace no longer sways with the winds of change. Of course, practicing detachment is not easy. The world constantly tells us that happiness comes from more approval, more possessions, more recognition. Social media fuels the illusion that if you just gain enough likes, enough followers, enough validation, then you'll finally feel complete. But Buddhism turns this lie on its head. The less you cling, the more you are free. The less you chase, the more you can simply be. Try beginning with small acts of detachment. The next time you face conflict, instead of rushing to prove yourself right, pause and ask, is peace more valuable here than victory? When you set goals, focus not on controlling every outcome, but on giving your best effort while releasing the rest. When someone hurts you, rather than clinging to resentment, imagine placing that pain on a leaf and letting it float down a stream. Watch it drift away and notice how much lighter you feel without carrying it. There is a famous Buddhist story of a monk who carried a heavy bucket of water up a hill every day. One day, the bucket cracked and half the water leaked out. At first, the monk was angry. He had worked so hard, and yet the bucket failed him. But over time, he noticed that the cracked side of the path bloomed with flowers. What he thought was a burden had quietly created beauty. This is the essence of detachment. Letting go of what you can't control and opening your eyes to the blessings hidden in imperfection. Detachment also requires compassion for yourself. We often cling not just to people or outcomes, but to our own mistakes and regrets. We replay them in our minds, punishing ourselves long after the moment has passed. To detach is to remind yourself, you are not your past, you are not your failures, you are not defined by what went wrong. You are the awareness watching it all, learning, growing, and moving forward. When you practice mindful detachment, you step into a state of unshakable peace. Life still changes, relationships shift, seasons end, successes and failures come and go. But instead of being broken by these changes, you stand steady like a mountain, watching clouds pass across your sky. In that stillness, you discover that your true self is not dependent on what comes and goes. It is vast, timeless, and free. So when the world pulls at you, remember, the key to strength is not in holding tighter, but in letting go. Detachment is not the end of love or passion. It is the beginning of freedom. And in that freedom, you will find the deepest form of happiness, the kind that no one and nothing can ever take away. 7. Discover freedom in not reacting. One of the most powerful lessons in Buddhism is the art of non-reactivity, the ability to remain calm, steady, and unshaken even when the world around you is turbulent. In today's culture, we live in constant reaction mode. Notifications ping, opinions clash, people test our patience, and the smallest spark can ignite conflict. We are conditioned to respond instantly, to defend, to argue, to retaliate. But true freedom is found in the pause, the moment you choose silence and awareness over impulsive reaction. When you react without thinking, you hand over your power. Anger, jealousy, or insecurity drive your words and actions, and later you regret what you said or did. But when you practice non-reactivity, you reclaim that power. You begin to understand that not every situation deserves your energy. Some things are distractions, others are traps, and most are simply not worth disturbing your peace for. Buddhism does not tell us to suppress emotions or pretend they don't exist. Emotions are natural, but but they don't have to control us. Mindfulness teaches us to observe them with compassion. Imagine anger rising within you. Instead of lashing out, you notice it, breathe, and let it pass like a storm cloud drifting across the sky. You are not the storm. You are the vast sky holding it. This shift changes everything. Think of the last time someone provoked you, maybe with an insult, unfair criticism, or a careless comment. Most people react instantly, fighting back with equal or greater force. But the Buddha once said, "When someone fires an arrow at you, you have two choices, to fire back or to remove the arrow and heal." Non-reactivity is removing the arrow. It ends the cycle before it grows into endless suffering. In daily life, small acts of restraint build this freedom. When someone cuts you off in traffic, instead of screaming, breathe and release. When your boss criticizes you harshly, instead of spiraling into anger or self-doubt, pause and remember that words only have the power you give them. When gossip swirls around you, instead of joining in or defending yourself, choose silence. Each time you resist the urge to react, you grow stronger. You become like a mountain, unmoved by the winds that rush around it. Silence is not weakness, it is discipline, it is self-mastery. The world often confuses noise with strength, but the strongest people are those who no longer need to react to every push and pull. Their calm unsettles those who thrive on chaos. Their patience disarms those who expect conflict. Their composure commands respect without a single word spoken. Non-reactivity also transforms relationships. Most conflicts escalate not because of the problem itself, but because of the reactions around it. A harsh word meets a harsher response, and suddenly, a small spark becomes a fire. But when you pause, when you respond calmly, or not at all, you change the entire dynamic. You invite understanding instead of escalation. You show others that peace is possible, even in disagreement. There's a story of a monk who was insulted daily by a villager. Instead of responding with anger, the monk remained silent. Finally, the villager asked, "Why do you never reply when I insult you?" The monk smiled and said, "If someone offers you a gift and you do not accept it, who does it belong to?" The villager realized that his insults never touched the monk, they only stayed with himself. That is the freedom of non-reactivity. But practicing this art is not easy. It requires patience, humility, and a willingness to let go of the ego's need to always win. It means understanding that your energy is sacred, and not every battle deserves your participation. It is realizing that true strength is not in shouting louder, but in choosing silence when silence is wiser. Over time, this practice becomes a way of life. You stop reacting to every opinion, every provocation, every fleeting emotion. Instead, you respond with awareness, or you don't respond at all. You become intentional with your energy, investing it only in what nurtures your peace and purpose. And slowly, you begin to live with a freedom few people ever experience. The freedom of knowing that nothing outside of you has the power to control what is inside of you. So the next time life tests your patience, remember this. You are not obligated to react. You can choose silence. You can choose calm. You can choose freedom. Thank you for watching. If these lessons touched you, remember to like, share, and subscribe for more reflections on mindfulness and Buddhist wisdom. Stay silent when silence is needed. Stay focused on what truly matters. And above all, embrace your journey of inner peace. Because true strength has never been about noise. It has always been about mastery of the self. Bonus lesson: the power of letting go. If there is one teaching that has the power to transform your life more than almost any other, it is this. Learn to let go. We live in a world that constantly teaches us to hold on, to cling to possessions, to identities, to relationships, and even to pain. We hold on because we fear loss. We hold on because we think control will keep us safe. But the Buddha taught that clinging is the very root of suffering. Freedom comes not from gripping harder, but from loosening your grasp. Think about how much of your stress comes from holding on too tightly. You hold on to grudges, replaying the words that hurt you. You hold on to expectations, demanding that life unfold exactly as you planned. You hold on to people who have already walked out of your story, hoping they'll return. But the more you grip, the more exhausted you become. It's like carrying a heavy stone. You can carry it for a moment, but if you refuse to set it down, it begins to break you. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting or ignoring. It doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop chaining your happiness to things outside your control. It is an act of trust. Trust that life has its own rhythm. Trust that endings make way for beginnings. Trust that what is meant for you will come in its own time. Imagine holding a butterfly in your hand. If you crush your fist, you destroy it. If you open your hand and allow it space, it rests on you freely, or it may fly away. That is the nature of life. When you let go, you allow beauty to stay or go as it needs to. And when it goes, you create space for new beauty to arrive. Buddhist practice reminds us that everything is impermanent. The seasons change, the tides rise and fall. Even our bodies transform with every passing moment. To resist change is to resist reality itself. But when you let go, you begin to flow with life instead of fighting against it. You discover a peace that doesn't depend on circumstances. Letting go is especially powerful when it comes to forgiveness. Carrying resentment is like drinking poison and hoping the other person will suffer. It only burns you from the inside. When you let go of anger, you don't excuse what was done. You free yourself from being chained to it. Forgiveness is not a gift to others, it is a gift you give yourself. Letting go also means releasing the pressure to control the future. So much anxiety comes from trying to predict or force what hasn't even happened yet. But control is an illusion. You can guide your actions, but you cannot command outcomes. The more you release this need to control, the lighter your steps become. You begin to live not in fear of what might come, but in appreciation of what is here now. Try practicing small acts of letting go in your daily life. Start by decluttering your space. Release what you no longer use. Notice how your mind feels clearer when your environment is lighter. When an intrusive thought arises, picture yourself placing it on a leaf and watching it float down a river. When you feel the urge to hold on to someone's approval, remind yourself, your worth does not depend on their opinion. Each time you practice letting go, you unburden yourself a little more. The great paradox is this: when you stop clinging, you actually experience life more fully. You taste each moment without the fear of losing it. You love people more deeply when you don't try to possess them. You enjoy success without letting it define you. You face loss without it destroying you. Letting go is not about having less. It's about carrying less. And in that lightness, you discover freedom. So ask yourself now, what are you holding on to that is weighing you down? Is it time to release the grudge, the fear, the expectation, the need for control? If you dare to loosen your grip, you'll find that life is not your enemy. It has been waiting to carry you all along. Letting go is not the end. It is the beginning of peace. It is the opening of your hands, your heart, and your mind to everything life still wants to give you. As we come to the end of this journey, remember, silence is not emptiness, solitude is not loneliness, and letting go is not weakness. These lessons are not just ideas to admire, but practices to live by. Each moment of stillness, each pause before reaction, each choice to protect your peace is a step toward the freedom the Buddha spoke of. Life will always bring noise, opinions, challenges, and change. But your true power lies in how you meet them. You don't have to fight every battle, respond to every provocation, or carry every burden. You are allowed to step back, to breathe, to be still. And in that stillness, you will find strength no storm can shake. If these teachings resonated with you, I invite you to take them into your daily life and see the transformation for yourself. And if this video brought you value, please give it a like, share it with someone who may need these words, and subscribe for more reflections on Buddhist wisdom and the art of living with clarity and peace. Your journey to inner strength doesn't end here. It continues in every choice you make, every moment you pause, and every time you remember that true freedom is already within you. Stay mindful, stay compassionate, and above all, stay connected to the silence that makes you whole.